and welcome to today is Saturday, and we are live at America Fest. I kept yesterday wanting to say America Fest West. It kind of is America Fest West. We are live here today at the Phoenix Convention Center, and we'll be bringing you all manner of interviews. We have later on today, we have Roger Stone, we have Jack Posobiec, and many other people that we're excited to talk about. Well, we're excited to talk right now to Ben Luna, who is do I want to call you the founder or the director or the instigator? Tell everyone about Save Our Children.
Yeah, so I guess you could call me the producer, the editor, the guy who's willing to just pick up everything and go film, that guy. So we are a small operation, but we know how to be resourceful with the little things that we had, and along the way we just started building, and then getting people's voices heard. And this is one topic that needed to be almost a campaign in itself. It needs a campaign strategy, and that's what Save Our Children documentary is. It's not Save the Children, it's Save Our Children, because we want to take ownership of our children in schools, and you always hear Biden and Kamala saying they're all our children. Well,
right.
Not necessarily.
So when you say Save Our Children, you mean you're basically, or you're saying save our children from being trafficked.
Correct. Well,
right?
It's not just trafficked. This documentary is actually about the trans and abortion procedures being facilitated in schools, legislation being passed that forces that on all society and in all schools. So like the tampons in boys' restrooms.
In Minnesota.
Well, New Mexico as well.
Oh, you have it in New Mexico as well.
Yeah, New Mexico. Our governor loves the Gavin Newsom policies and all the woke policies. And so we are like a mini California in New Mexico. And the things that are forced on society, we don't want it. Like even the election recently showed that a lot of Americans don't want these policies. Well, New Mexico had the same type of voting record. Half of New Mexico voted against these woke ideologies, and a lot of them are facilitating these procedures without parental knowledge or consent, and that's not a partisan issue, really.
So here in Arizona, they have Governor Katie Hobbs, who I don't know how she ever became governor of anything. In New Mexico, you have a female governor. What's her name?
Michelle Lujan Grisham.
She is, I think, arguably, probably to the left of Gavin Newsom. The things that I've seen her talking about, the things that she has done. So, what is the actual policy in New Mexico when it comes to trans? So you can get puberty blockers and transitioning counseling without parental consent?
Yeah, so the bill, I believe, is called Reproductive and Gender Affirming Healthcare Freedom Act or something like that.
I love how they frame that. Reproductive freedom.
Exactly.
Without reproducing.
Exactly. And so that's what that bill does. It's HB 7 in New Mexico, but it's a copycat bill. Okay, so it's already passed in California, but they passed these. It probably originated from California, and they try to get it sponsored and passed in all Democrat states and even conservative states. If you're not watching, and so what it allows for schools to do is any healthcare worker or teacher who does not facilitate these procedures, or at least send the children in the direction to get these procedures, you're fined $5,000.
$5,000.
$5,000 fine. Yeah, so they've almost tied the hands of teachers, healthcare workers, anything that is state funded as well. So you have churches that are state funded, you have schools that are state funded, so many different things that are state funded. If anybody decides to go and get these treatments, like let's say a hospital, and a doctor doesn't agree with it, a nurse doesn't agree with it, if you don't facilitate it, you're fined $5,000.
$5,000.
And that's just one bill. They passed that bill, and then they passed another bill that protects the people performing or facilitating. So like they're going to be covered. They're not going to be held accountable according to these laws. And then there's also school-based health centers. And that's actually happening throughout multiple states in the nation. And we show that in our documentary. These school-based health centers are on school campuses or right next door. Like it looks as if they're on school campus. So you could go to the nurse as a child, as a confused child, at one of the most vulnerable times of your life.
Right.
And you could say you feel like a girl when you're a boy, and they will almost speed that process up, take you to the healthcare clinic or the school-based health center, and you'll be able to get hormones, puberty blockers, or they'll take you to the hospital and get these procedures facilitated. And by the time the damage is done, it's almost like you can't do anything about it.
You were telling me before we came on, and we talked yesterday, you were telling me there were 11 cases that are in the documentary?
11 cast members.
11 cast members.
Yes.
So, but you roll all this into one documentary.
Yes.
Into one, but you could have 11 episodes.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to take bits and pieces because it's a ton of information, but we're going to take bits and pieces of every single cast member, make it a storyline because it's, people have a short attention span, so we have to make it to where it's enjoyable to watch whenever it's graphic information. You know what I mean? It's like it's hard to stomach what they're doing. And so we have to, in a sense, make it to where it's not building up that adrenaline just nonstop and no way to outlet. But what we also want people to know is what to do about it. Don't just piss off the constituents and then give them nothing to do. Like, no, there's ways to push back. And one of the ways we had a ballot initiative that got 50,000 signatures, and it was both sides of the ballot that people didn't want these laws or policies. And then we also sent about 1 million responses to our legislators. That's phone calls, emails, and that just shows that you can do something in a deep blue state and still push back.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if you've ever flown over New Mexico. You fly over desert.
Yeah.
Basically. There's two population centers. There's Santa Fe and there's Albuquerque, right?
And Las Cruces.
Oh, Las Cruces, okay.
Those are like the biggest
So
ones.
is New Mexico like the rest of the United States, basically the legislature and the choice for president, for example, are controlled by the big cities?
Yes. So I believe that rural New Mexico, if you did get them all engaged to vote, they would be able to compete with the cities, but getting them the information in rural New Mexico, like it's very, very rough terrain, a lot of mountains, a lot of just desert and ranches.
Oh, I flew over it.
yeah, and not only that, like each city is technically separated by like at least an hour or 3 hours of driving. So it's not even like a real condensed like a Phoenix area. It's every city is like as far as you could spread it all apart, and we have people that have to campaign in that. So
I wonder though, New Mexico wasn't always deep blue.
It wasn't always deep blue, but I believe that what has happened really, and it's happened across the nation really, when you can have a DEI Marxist run for president, I think a lot of America has been asleep at the wheel for a long time.
Right.
And so I think that's really what has happened in New Mexico. There's a lot of good people, once they hear about what's going on, once they're educated, once we literally boots on the ground, put it in their hands, watch this please. You have to take that old school outreach approach to actually break censorship and make contact with these people. And once you do that, they're on board. But they have been asleep at the wheel, and entertainment and all the things we give our life to when our government was meant to be, how do I say, maintained by a educated constituency.
A Christian educated constituency.
Exactly.
John Adams said that.
Yes. So you have a lot of complacency. Me, myself, I didn't get started until I think 2020.
Really?
So yeah, I didn't vote for Trump when he went against Hillary. I worked in the union, IBEW, as an electrician, and so I knew all the union talking points that were against Trump, and I'm new to this. And everybody on the in the documentary, all the cast members, they're all new as well, but they did the research. So
my brother-in-law is IBEW. He was head of the union for the railroad in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Because the IBEW services all the electric parts on trains. Most people don't know that. I'm here with Ben Luna, and we're talking about Save Our Children. Ben and I were having a conversation before we went on. I didn't know this, but apparently DVDs are still popular, and they intend to release this on DVD.
Yes, actually, we had Salem reach out to us yesterday. They got a flyer and came straight to our booth. And so DVDs, like if you hear about Constitution Alive and Biblical Citizenship by David Barton. David Barton is like America's historian. He has tons of artifacts from our founders, actual writings, actual documents that they had. And so he has the actual original intent of our Constitution, why they passed certain laws, why they said certain things. And so they have DVD series that have gone really viral throughout churches in America. And one thing that happened during Ronald Reagan's time, you had Francis Schaeffer. Francis Schaeffer took tours throughout the churches, and he had a 10-episode documentary that went viral, and that was VHS.
I was going to say, Ronald Reagan was president. Betamax.
Yeah, that was
VHS, Betamax. You had videotapes.
Yes, sir. That was VHS. So what's good about these things is, like, you could give it to somebody as a gift.
Right.
And say, hey, watch this. I've watched this already. Purchase it. Send it somewhere. Sometimes people, on their phones, they don't like to watch things on their phones. They're old school. So
I don't either. So what happened that made Ben Luna decide to get involved in all this and to Save Our Children, or to start it and then begin producing? Because you're raising money. I heard you guys talking yesterday that you've actually met some donors here. This event has been really good for you guys. But what was the catalyst? What was the event that made Ben Luna decide to do this?
Yeah, so we started off doing documentaries for our many industries. So we have ranchers that are nearby, and they're really good friends now. I consider them family. They were having issues as far as like the Forest Service fencing off their water. And so when you fence off water rights, that's a big issue. And
in a desert, yeah,
especially in a desert
issue,
especially in the desert. Yeah, so they needed somebody to do some film because they were going to take a walk with our congresswoman at the time, Yvette Harrell, and our county commissioners, and they needed somebody to do a documentary. And I was like, well, what kind of budget do you have? And usually nobody ever has a budget. so we're
budget. What's a budget?
So we're usually the ones they call when you don't have a budget, but we still need to get the job done. And so I showed up, just had a iPhone, $100 gimbal, documented it all, and then we brought some actual cameras to do an actual interview. But that was the first one, and what it showed me is when you do videos that gives the locals a platform, and it also is an industry like the ranching industry. Everybody that cares about ranching is going to watch that, and then they almost flock to that.
Right.
And so it showed me the power of media just for that one area. But we kept doing that. Like other people reached out. Paul, who has really kind of sponsored this booth, Paul had a issue with his local water system being forced to give up the water rights again to be able to regionalize and get capital outlay.
Right.
And so we called that one Water Regionalize with LIES at the end. And so it just kept going on from there. And even before we came here, another rancher reached out to me, and he said that the Fish and Wildlife are now fencing off their water. So it's a different agency, same tactic, but what we saw that was the same tactic throughout all of society is forced policy, forced laws, change the laws, and then you force all of the citizenry out of compliance.
But these don't sound like they're laws. This sounds like bureaucrats taking something that supposedly is a law, interpreting it and going like, oh, hey, water. Yeah, I don't like you.
Exactly.
the other side of the fence there, or I'm going to put a fence here, and we're going to take your water. Taking water rights away, I mean, that's just like that's a sin against charity and humanity.
Yes.
And against animals. How are you supposed to feed the animals if you don't have water?
Exactly. And some of the ranchers, they would actually say that. They would have to go along rough terrain just to get to water. And so some of the excuses are the Endangered Species Act, where they could say there's a meadow jumping mouse
meadow jumping mouse, folks.
Exactly. So it might be its habitat. It might be.
It might not be.
And they might be there. So there's no proven documentation. But then there's also the American spotted owl. So maybe the spotted owl is eating the jumping mouse, yes.
How could it be an American spotted owl, not a wooded or horned owl or a wooded or a red-breasted like some of the ones that I know are endangered? You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when Obama was president, 2010, 2011, somewhere up in there. The ranchers in Nevada and Utah, Clive and Bundy,
yes, sir,
had the same issue with the BLM.
Yep.
You know what they did? They were like, get off our land.
Yep.
Federal government's not a real estate company. You don't own the land. Get off our land, or we'll shoot you, basically.
Yep.
Now, one of the Bundy boys ultimately was killed in a shootout with, I guess it was ATF, I think. But I think that the Bundys largely kind of won that fight. They took it to the Department of the Interior and like, you don't own this land. This is the people of New Mexico, the people of Nevada, the people of Utah own this land. So maybe there's some hope for your ranchers here.
I think so.
Especially with Trump coming in.
Yes. Actually, people from the Bundy situation, they actually reached out when they saw the documentary. Not only that, we posted it on a national platform. Some people that were pushing back against the NACs. NACs are national asset companies.
Okay.
And they were going to be passed by the SEC, I believe. The NACs were meant to pretty much, make national parks, monuments, to where nobody could be on it, and even land from ranchers. And then what you do after the government, quote unquote, owns it, then you monetize it for other nations to buy stocks in it. That's what the NAC system was going to do. And so we were able to push back against that, but a national platform saw the documentary, and we just kept doing that, being a voice for our local community. And that's really what this is. Like, people that have done the research, I knew that we could do a better delivery of their information, and it is a lot of information, but what we're going to do is we're going to make it to where it's easy to digest, short little videos, but then there's the longer videos if you want to do your research and educate yourself.
So you can go to on x.com, just follow you.
Yeah.
Ben Luna for US.
Yep. Or you could go to saveourchildren.com. That's children is spelled with a number 1. And so saveourchildren.com.
CH1L.
Exactly. So we have to tell. The other domain was $20,000. So I was like, all right, whatever.
Well, I think that New Mexico is in for a change because you're going to have a new secretary at DOI at the Department of the Interior, and a real estate mogul as the president who understands private property rights. And at the end of the day, you're talking private property rights, but you're also talking about access to public waters.
Yes.
They actually passed an act. The Clean Water Act is what they probably used to do some of this. They passed it in 1988 or whatever. And the Clean Water Act had nothing to do with clean water. It had to do with giving bureaucrats in the federal government the power to basically to confiscate or to say that's a navigable waterway. The Constitution says that we have ruling over it. I remember in his famous dissent on the ruling, I can't remember the exact case, but Justice Scalia said, that's not a navigable waterway. That's a creek. Everyone that looks at it would go like, oh, that's a creek. It's not a navigable waterway. And that's what they use. The Clean Water Act is one of the acts that they use to take your water rights away. I think the Chevron decision also will throw hopefully, for you people in New Mexico, throw most of that out.
Yes, we are watching that. We have a organization called Beef Initiative. I believe if you just go to beefinitiative.com, they are pretty much a network of ranchers and I believe processing plants for the meat industry throughout the entire nation. And Brianna Sagdol, she's been, pretty much developing a lot of the messaging and doing the research that we need. Like, we need people that are very knowledgeable in how to research to push back, because they force a lot of pork, as you saw in Congress, and if we're not paying attention, things will get by us.
What is the beef the beef hashtag again? What did you say?
That's beefinitiative.com, I believe.
Beefinitiative.com.
Yeah.
I think I know her, actually. I think that's actually going to change. I also think that Thomas Massey's Prime Act is probably going to pass now, or at least we'll get a vote, get out of the committee, and that your New Mexico ranchers will be able to sell their beef to New Mexicans without getting the stinking USDA involved.
Yes. I think we're heading in that direction. Also, like, they're knowledgeable on how to set up local producers to kind of get that concept to where, like, each county has a supplier of beef. And once you do that, then you're not being taken over by these corporations.
It's a good thing. Ben Luna is here with me. I want to thank Ben for coming by. Ben's been our neighbor for the last 3 days, and doing great work at Save Our Children. Ben, thank you very much. And so just go to Save Our Children with a one.
With the one, not
with a one now. .com, and find out any more info. Also to make a donation.
Yes, please.
If you want to donate to the cause.
Yeah, it's very grassroots. I think we've spent like $60,000 just to book the people, get the film, and all that stuff. So we're willing to do the work. You know, we're grassroots all the way. And if you want to support grassroots, yeah.
Well, you got an army of volunteers next door.
Yes.
All right. Finally, tell me about the coffee in the red bag.
So it's not all coffee. Actually, none of it's coffee.
What is it?
We have waffle mix. We have cornbread mix. And actually, Felix, he's over here somewhere. He has a mill. Actually, there he is. He walked up right there. But he has a mill, a 100-year-old mill that produces all of these products. And so,
get out of here!
If anybody wants to slap their own label on that product,
Felix, come here, come hither, come here.
But yeah, if anybody
wants live radio, we can do this.
Yeah, you're good.
Grab one of his bags.
Yeah, I'll let him jump on real quick.
Thank you, Ben. Sit down, my friend here. Sit down. I got to talk to you about. You have a mill.
I have a corn mill. Yes, I do.
Okay, where do you get the corn?
I get the corn out of New Mexico.
So is it heirloom corn?
It is heirloom corn.
Folks, we have just found a new source for heirloom corn.
Yes.
So okay, so this is blue corn waffle and pancake mix.
Correct.
Where do our viewers and listeners get a bag of this?
Well, right now,
Save Our Children.
Save Our Children. And we don't have the shopping cart, but if you go to Southwest Heritage Mill, you could, if you look up Southwest Heritage Mill, we can. You can order
Southwest Heritage Mill.
Yeah, you can order those, and we'll have those in stock and mail those out.
I want to tell you, I recently discovered about the Mexico Agriculture Project in the 1950s, and I discovered Hayden Flour Mills in Arizona. They're in the desert, and all they grow is flour.
Yeah.
Sonoma flour or Sonoma wheat.
Wheat.
They grow four varieties of pre-1958 seed wheat, and it tastes so delicious. When we're so used to getting this processed stuff that's been genetically modified and what have you, and has 18 additional protein glutens in it, it makes you sick. It gives people the celiac disease and irritable bowel and everything. When you eat something that is made, my Hayden Flour Mills bread and pancakes, I don't feel like I go into a carb coma afterwards. Is that what I'm going to get with this?
Yes, because this is whole grain.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So the whole grain corn, the whole grain corn doesn't spike your blood sugar.
Okay.
And so that's the benefit of having whole grain. Most of the corn on the market is degermed, so they take off the tip, and that's where all the nutrients is. And then they remove the pericarp, which is the skin, and that's what's non-soluble, and that's what keeps your blood sugar from spiking.
Who knew? He knew. All right, I want all of you to go and find, and it's got a great label, American 1776 Patriot.
Yeah. It's a brand new label, so we're kind of just launching it now.
I absolutely love it. So you can get it at Save Our Children, or is there a link there on their site?
Not yet, but we'll have one.
Okay, but what was the other site that you told him to
Southwest Heritage Mill.
Southwest Heritage Mill. All right. So how long were you like? Have you been a farmer your whole life, or?
I grew up farming with my dad and cooking with my mom as a very young kid, and so everything I do right now really it honors what they taught me, really. And that's the importance of having a family, right? And having parents that teach you and are involved in your life. And so when I went to college and grad school, and I wasn't satisfied with my career, so I wanted something that was more substantive and had more authenticity.
Well, this has authenticity.
So
I can hold it in my hand.
So it's been a labor of love, really.
I don't know how many people you meet that get excited about corn like I did.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about health.
Yeah.
And I know because I do a lot of reading and I study a lot, and I know the disastrous consequences of what's been done to the grain food supply, if you will.
It's genetically modified. We still don't know, like all our wheat, there's a big concern about corn, but no one's really concerned about wheat, and wheat's just as bad.
Wheat's in almost everything.
Yeah, and it's in everything, and we eat it almost every meal. And so we really need to be aware of what we're putting in our body, and I think most people care more about what kind of gasoline they put in their car than what food they put in their mouth.
I don't want that. That has ethanol in it. Don't give me that ethanol here. You're going to sell me pancakes that came from a flour mill that you don't know. I think the big movement now is, and I believe that we have actually turned a corner. The big movement now is more people want to know who grew or made their food.
And where it came from, yes.
Where it came from.
Yeah. And, the thing is, even some of the organic food has some very toxic things in it. And so you really need to read the label. And probably the most unhealthy thing I have in my mix is the sugar. But, if you don't have sugar and stuff, you don't sell.
You can get turbinado sugar, which is whole grain, basically the whole, and that's what I use. All right, I just wanted to introduce the audience to this because we talk about this on our show. We have, you know what, I'm going to invite you on.
Okay,
we have a show that we do pretty much every other Friday or so called Free Farm Friday.
Oh, cool.
And all we talk about is regenerative farming practices.
Great.
Do you guys practice?
I don't do the actual farming. I buy from a processor that tests it and processes it.
Okay. Well, we'll talk to you and him.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Felix
you.
Torres, everybody.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm going to send you back to the studio. Mike Church here live at the America Fest in Phoenix, Arizona, here on the Crusade Radio Network. Live talk, campaign, convention, and pancake mix radio and TV the way it should be. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.